How can retailers diversify their offering and enhance operational efficiencies to facilitate growth and long-term business success? In the fourth episode of the Smart Mobility series, we discuss the importance of attainable growth and efficiency in the fuel retail and convenience industry with Viju Pullan, Sales and Key Accounts Director, and Jeroen van Pelt, Sales Director at Dover Fueling Solutions. Listen as we examine how retailers can navigate the evolving fuel retail landscape to achieve sustainable growth and long-term efficiency. Today, on episode 4 of our Smart Mobility series, I'm joined by Jeroen van Pelt and Viju Pullan as we discuss attainable growth and efficiency. Thank you for being part of this discussion today. As consumer expectations increase and businesses look to adapt their strategy to meet the ever-changing fuel retail environment, retailers are naturally looking to diversify their offering and enhance operational efficiencies. This will help facilitate business growth and long-term business success. So Viju, how can retailers become more efficient and unlock business growth with smart digital payments, personalized customer engagement, and streamlined operations?
Well, Sarah, thanks for the invite to this session. And interesting that unlock business potential. You're straight to the point. So yeah, that's what all business wants. So that's good way to start. So let's look at it this way: that any change is an opportunity which is coming our way, and the retail industry has genuinely been very fortunate with a lot going around with it. So they are full of opportunities, and the best part is they are riding on a solid customer base, which it can build on and manage this transition. So they have a lot going on in their favor. So from there, if you say that the fundamentals of growth, it remains the same. Coming back to how it grows, you increase the customer centricity for your top line and you improve your efficiency on every dollar spent to to reduce the bottom line, and that's where your margin grows. So that remains the same. How do we do it? That's probably what your question is. Well, let's talk about starting with the customer. The customer is a god, that and their every minute spent, their time spent is valuable when they come to our premise. As a retailer, that's where that time and that has to be maximized by providing them convenience, by providing them an experience in a safe manner, in physically safe and digitally safe manner. So this is very fundamental of how we treat that customer. How do we do it? Obviously, the age we are living in, it has to do a lot with around automation, and that's a given. It's a non-brainer. And as Dover, we are specialized in this area of business. Starting from a very base level of automation, we can grow on to multiple levels. We can have different digital payments, loyalties, self-checkouts, ordering kiosks, API interfaces with apps, etc., etc. We can go the full basket. That's the key is it can change from region to region. It can change from shop to shop. Your need can change, and there is a need to adapt and customize that. I think that's the key here. That to have an automation solution that meets your business need, grow with your business need, and that's the fundamental. I think, Jeroen, what do you think about it?
I think the automation part is key in that. We know that in different areas of the world, automation levels are different. But we do see a drive that everywhere automation becomes the tool to become more efficient over time and also to improve the customer experience on site. So I think that is where really the challenge lies for many different customers of us.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's important that you've taken from that answer there that you both shared that automation and having something that will facilitate growth whilst also growing with your business. It's not like a one size fits all situation. It's something that can and become flexible for the independent business or the individual business itself. So just touching on that, does business growth and enhanced operational efficiencies work hand in hand?
Yes, absolutely, hand in hand. And I think it's even more stronger than hand in hand. They are crucial to each other. So we know that to grow your business, it will not most likely by increasing volumes. And that is a challenge overall. So that is becoming how do you grow your business by increasing efficiency? And also to come back on the previous point, then automation again becomes very important. So automation in the shop, so to give a more personalized experience to your customers, to have better ways of handling transactions and of course optimizing your shop sales, but also underground where you have your wet stock, your products that you need to move as quickly and as efficient as you can. We have a few customers saying, I would like to have the money in the bank, not in the tank. And I think that is really what it is all about, because there's a lot of money involved, wet stock and dry stock. But having the right product at the right time, all the time, is really important. So it starts not only with And looking underground and above ground is looking through the whole chain and see how can we automate that from a point of sale perspective, and how can you optimize the customer experience from buying the right products that he or she wants, and of course having the wet stock products available of all the fueling positions at all the times without any disruption and any problems for the customer basically to fill up.
And essentially, larger the business, any incremental efficiency improvement is only going to be that much more larger, right? If I just give a quick example, like for instance, you have a shop, and the shop is running. The shop becomes a peak load. During the afternoons, when somebody comes, there's a whole queue up for buying sandwiches and all that. And then in the evening hours, when everybody is driving back, there's another peak load. What does the shop owner do? Does he add more people just in that hour? Or does he have a choice to automate, add self-checkouts, add an ordering kiosk, right? And free up his person who is on the till to do other jobs like maybe making sandwiches, maybe stocking up stuff, etc., by not increasing his operational cost, his or her operational cost. So this is where one has to strategically look at how to balance automation, be it liquid fuel in your tank, which is blocked capital, or be it the way he manages the OPEX and his resources.
Yeah, that's a really good example, and I think when you touched on something really important as well when we came to you first, was that I think when people assume about growth and efficiencies, they think it's above ground, they think it's the forecourt, they think it's the C-store, but you made a really good point that it's everything, it's all encompassing, it's above and below ground. And I really think that example you gave, Viju, was a really good one in terms of being strategic and looking at your overall plan for your service station.
Correct.
So just touching back on automation, because we have spoken about it quite a lot, how important is automation and connectivity when it comes to generating efficiencies, and how beneficial is that for turning into long-term growth?
Well, I think if you ask the customers of today, but also our customers and the next generation, there is no automation without connectivity. If you're not connected to the wider world, there's only limitations you can do. So this is where it's really becoming crucial as well. Again, different regions, different customer automation levels require different connectivity solutions, but this is where the difference is made. You know, if you have ability to control all your sites, all your businesses from a central point, or at least have oversight, then you also can optimize your offering and your business to that. So I think connectivity is there very important.
Yeah, agree.
If I put another side to it, I mean, there's nothing, I mean, automation, connectivity, absolutely hand in hand. But in reality, I mean, there is also a genre or a thought process where one says that everything has to be in the cloud, everything has to run absolutely seamless and all that. So on one side, we need connectivity to have a central dashboard to view to improve performance. On the other side, the site has to be independent or has to run seamlessly, irrespective of if there is a connectivity disruption or not. That's also a reality, right? So if you go into Africa, connectivity is a challenge. If you are even in Europe, in some parts of Europe, we see connectivity as a challenge. It's so very important, but at the same time, the system running on site should be able to overcome any gaps in connectivity and keep running. Uptime has to be high. These are the areas where DFS solutions like Prisma Automation or DX Wetstock, they specialize in ensuring these gaps are overcome in a very efficient manner.
Yeah.
And also, to your point, Viju, the reality is that sometimes you lose connectivity. That's the real. Technology is not flawless. It sometimes stalls. But this is also where, if you have a system or a setup that also that allows you basically to do trading when the connectivity is just gone or just gone for an hour, that's also very important. So this is why we also, from a DFS perspective, our solutions are shaped to be connected all the time. But if you lose connectivity, then you can still trade. You can still help your customers to fill up their buys. And that sometimes is forgotten a bit, because
Absolutely.
everything is always connected.
We think all the time everything is fully connected and wherever we go we have signal, but in real world when you see practically on site it can be a bit different.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think as well, people automatically assume that connectivity is just making sure that everything is connected, but we also mean it in terms of different products and solutions connecting and communicating with each other. So these retailers have this overview of their entire operation. And I know that you touched on that earlier, Jeroen, when you were mentioning about Whitstock and it being like the full and encompassing retail site. And I think that's something that's really important. And to your point, I imagine can also help facilitate that growth and allow you to become more efficient.
Absolutely. So it is also about data sharing between the different solutions. So you're right. Connectivity is also between the different solutions on site, either all from one supplier or different suppliers. That it should be all possible. And I think as an industry, we have an obligation to make things connectable between the different solutions out there and make sure that the end customer and our customers, but the end customer benefits from that at all. So that's an industry responsibility, I think, and that we all should be taking care.
That's a very good point. I think what we are on to now, that one is about having standardized protocol of connectivity, which is good, which is something one respects between industry so that there is devices can connect with each other.
Yep.
Something very, very unique what DFS does is when you have multiple solutions on site, you have multiple hardwares, you have multiple peripherals, and yes, finally you have to make them talk to each other. Now, even if you're in a country which speaks only English, but there can be many dialects or different accents in English, right? Same thing applies on protocols, right? You can talk IFSF, but there could be different flavors to it. Now, that's the crux. When it comes to DFS solutions, DFS is one of those unique end-to-end solution provider where they try to mitigate the concerns of solutions talking to each other and optimize on hardware. So you can have functionalities which can be integrated, reduce your hardware, which means your connectivity points. Like connectivity is also physical hardware connectivity and language connectivity, and then of course the data cloud connectivity, right? So when we say connectivity, they have different connotations to it. And interestingly, what DFS offers is minimizing those hardware interfaces, having that seamless interface in language exchanges, and then, of course, the connectivity which goes through the data operator. So there is value in all that. One is about standardizing the industry, but also how can you optimize your infrastructure on site?
That's a really valuable point because I think we, like you said, activities in our everyday lives, it's just like this normal expectation that we have, but it's actually a lot more complicated than what the majority of us and potentially a lot of fuel retailers out there think or can consider. So that was a really valuable point. So thank you for that. One of the topics I'm going to come on to now is non-fuel retail and convenience. Now, why should retailers look to capture the value from non-fuel retail and convenience to facilitate their growth?
They have to, because if you do not do it, then basically you're only selling your fuel products, and then it comes down to, okay, who's the cheapest in the neighborhood these days? We know that customers value additional services because it's just convenient to them. And if I'm thinking about convenience, it's not only about the sandwich, basically, or the cola. It's also about other stuff. I was on a site in Belgium last week, and it was very clear that business was very good, but it has a huge loyal customer base because they came to him for example, delivery services. So you can bring your package or pick up your package because it's just convenience. The car wash is always very important as well. So that's where it's all about making sure that the customer get what they need and when they fill up their cars, or they are there and they fill up the car anyway because they have other stuff to do. So convenience is not only about the sandwich, it's also about the other stuff around. What I think is becoming more and more. Traditionally, you saw an unmanned station only fuel and a manned station fuel and the sandwich and the soda. But now you see also that the unmanned stations suddenly have vending machines, suddenly have pickup boxes there as well. So it's really becoming a wide service level of things that retailers can make money on, or at least provide service to their end customers.
Yeah.
Customers to the station. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think the traditional fueling industry, it's not very long back, like maybe 10, 15 years ago, or maybe even lesser. They suddenly realized that their asset is not just the fuel station. Their real asset is sitting in the customer base, the millions of customers who walk into their shop or drive into their shops every day in, day out, and they are repeat in nature. So this was an important realization which made the whole mobility industry to make this transition from a fuel retailer to mobility retailer, where they are even fueling energy, all types of energy, because the energy spread is increasing, but also the energy for the man behind the wheel or the lady behind the wheel. So food, everything else. A coffee today, a margin on a coffee is multiple times the margin on a fuel in terms of percentage. You buy a bottle from a mega store or buy a bottle from a fuel store. You pay the premium, and that premium is the cost of convenience.
Yes.
You pay a premium for that convenience. So there is value because the retailer is positioned so very well. They're positioned strategically. They have a land asset. They have customers moving into the space. So there is traffic. So it's a no-brainer that they have to monetize on it if they want to grow the business. I think it's very strategic. And we are here to enable that growth journey by bringing in solutions which they can use to make that customer experience seamless.
Yeah. And I think as well as whether we like it or not, consumers today are time poor. When they go and refuel, they don't want to have to be going to refuel and then go to a supermarket and then go into a post office. They just don't have the time. So to both of your points, if all of that is there at their regular service station, you wouldn't go anywhere else. So therefore the retailer can capitalize on them being there for a prolonged period of time and potentially upsell using media at the dispenser or through automation, like we were speaking like before when we can talk about cross-selling and promotion. So I think there's a lot when we talk about growth and efficiencies, and there's so many small incremental changes that you can make which will have a larger impact over time, and I think that's something not to be underestimated as well.
Absolutely.
So coming to that, Viju, I'll come back to you. How do you think retailers can navigate the evolving fuel retail landscape? Because you mentioned different energies alongside fuel. And how can they achieve sustainable growth and long-term efficiency?
Well, I mean, this is key, right? We are in an industry which is making a transition, and we are talking about long-term efficiency at the same time is very vital. So the key decision the retailer has to maneuver here is to select an automation solution, essentially a solution that can grow, like we discussed, with their business, right? So a solution which can deal with the complexity, start from basic, and give them an incremental solution. The word incremental is important because their investment has to have value, and that investment should not be scrapped because it should not get obsolete. It's very important. And hence here, the modularity of the solution is super important, that you can connect with each other. So the solutions can connect with each other. Investment in hardware and software is incremental, and that's the crux, I think, for a single site owner or a network owner. Essentially, investing in a solution which is mature enough. Take, for instance, a door OASA solution or a payment this thing is the largest in Europe. It's connected with more than 250 fleet cards. You subscribe into that. It's connected with multiple banks. You have the flexibility to deal with it, etc., etc. The important thing is these solutions and these investments are not done for a year or 2 years. It is done for 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Some of our customers are very well with us for 15, 20 years by keeping on upgrading the solutions. So you need to think through that you are here in a journey with a partner, and it is a long-term journey, and that journey needs to be incremental, and it needs to be with a solution provider that can support you through that journey and will not disappear in months. So essentially, that's the crux of the decision which the retailer needs to take when he makes a choice of who he wants to partner with. It's like a decision of a marriage, yeah? That's the biggest, most important decision you take in your life. It's a decision like that for a business.
Yeah.
I think that's important because nobody has the exact knowledge what's going to happen in 5, 10 years from now. But also from a DVS perspective, we have taken that approach to have an open architecture as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because we know that we want to be the best in what we do, but sometimes there are also good partners from our side who can help us to bring more value to our customers. So open architecture is always something that we try to reach for. That's not always possible, but it is where it makes a difference. And that gives also the customers from us, or our customers, the possibility to position themselves best for the future. So we, of course, won't also be that preferred supplier to the customer, but if there's a good reason that we either have additional partnerships or we can navigate together with him towards the best solution. That is something that we try to do. So it's key in my opinion.
And all that. So that's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
That's the world we are in.
No, I agree. And I think as well, both of you you talk about this, it's not a quick fix. We've mentioned one solution does not fit all. And I think when retailers now, because there's an awful lot of change in the industry, everyone's very competitive. There's a lot of change in terms of decarbonisation and different energies becoming available. And I think retailers looking to grow or stay relevant are almost looking at what can they do now, like a solution that'll fix it now. Whereas to your point, that's really not the strategic approach that they should be taking. They should be looking at what they want to achieve strategically in the next 5, 10, 15 years and what solutions will make a difference over that period of time. Like they could make an investment in something that would maybe work and last for a year, but then there would be another problem. So it would be another investment. And I think to your point, there's a lot of products and solutions that Dover Fueling Solutions provide that kind of mitigates that fix. It's a long-term solution which should help then you become more efficient long-term and build that attainable growth as well.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. Good summary.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great discussion with you both this afternoon. It's been very insightful just to get your real life examples as well. And I'm sure our listeners will enjoy this podcast episode. So
Thank you.
very, very much for joining us.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Attainable Growth and Efficiency, the 4th episode in our Smart Mobility series. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Viju and Jeroen. If you'd like to support the podcast, feel free to share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a review. To catch the latest from Dover Fueling Solutions, you can follow us on LinkedIn or visit our website at www.doverfuelingsolutions.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week where we continue to fuel the conversation.